All right, let's start playing around with box model, margins, padding, width, heights, borders, backgrounds, all that good stuff. So that's in here, box model, backgrounds. We'll see what that looks like. So again, in the CSS tutorial, I know there's a lot of information here. I'm kind of trying to narrow it down to the most important stuff you need to do. And you can always search too, right? Remember, if you're like, what was that? There's something about font style. Just search font style and ignore the add ones, but go to, oh yeah, the CSS font style property, and it'll give you a review of all the different things you can do and how it's used and whatever. Okay, but we wanted to go CSS box model. So the key here is I want you to think of every element. All HTML elements can be treated as boxes. So a box has content and a border. And between the content and the border, there's some padding, right? So you don't want your content to go right up to the border. You can space it out a little bit. And outside of the border, there's a margin. So you can separate the border and other elements using margin. The content, we see there's this height and width. The height and width refer to the width and height of the content. Okay, so when you add padding and you add a border and you add a margin, the entire width gets larger, right? If you said something is 100 pixels wide, well, if you add a padding and a border and some margin to it, it'll be wider than that 100 pixels. You can change that, but we're gonna just keep it. You can change the box sizing technique style that it uses, but for now, we're just gonna use the width as and height of the content. Okay, to play around with that, I'd like to look at the heading, this H1. And we'll play around with it so you can see how it is a box. Okay, so let's search for, I'm just going to do my H1, and I'm going to do a separate one because I only want to do the H1, not the H1 and the H2. All right, so in here, let's start by doing a border. And again, all of these things are found here. Borders. Well, you can do border style and have all these different styles. You can do border width. You can do border colors. You can do border top, left, right, bottom, and style different parts of the border. I find generally what I do is the shorthand property. If I want to make a border around it, I just go border and you give it a size, a style, and a color. Okay, and that is usually a pretty short way to do it. All right. So I'm just going to go border. Let's go 2 pixels solid green. Awesome. Save that, and now my H1 should have, hey, there it is, should have a border around it. Okay. Now you'll notice that the H1 doesn't go all the way against the edge of the screen, right? And it doesn't go all the way up to the top here. And that's because there's some default padding on the body. Right? Remember in our HTML we've got this body element. The body has some, I can't remember if it's padding or if it's margin, but it has some default styles on it that mean that it kind of pushes away from the edge of the HTML, the whole page. But anyway, this is my H1. It's a big box, which is interesting to see because now we can do something like text align center, and you would see that it centers within that box. Okay. Now we can also adjust the width of the box. So width maybe 800 pixels. And now you'll see that, okay, it's still centered within the box, but the box now has a width of 800 pixels. Okay, and of course we could adjust the height of it as well. Height of 100 pixels. There it is, a height of 100 pixels. Usually I don't want to mess with the height because notice how it wasn't centered. If we wanted to get some more height to this, a good idea is to use padding. And again, if you go to W Schools, guess what? There's a section on padding and you can read all about this. Again, there's top, right, bottom, left, or you can do a shorthand property and give it 4 values or 2 values or 3 values or 1 value. And it makes it, anyway, play around with that, read that. I'm going to do something like this, padding, and if I give it 2 numbers, the first number will be for top and bottom, 20 pixels, and the next number will be for left and right, which I guess I'm just going to do 0 because it's centered and there is no real need for padding. All right, so there. So the top and bottom have 20 pixels above and below, and then the left and right, I don't care about the padding because it's not against the walls, right? It's just there. Okay, so that's padding between the content and the border. If we wanted margin, right, I could go, margin left 100 pixels. And that'll push it 100 pixels from the left, right? Outside of the border is the margin, right? Border and then margin left would be this distance here. And again, you can read all about margins over here. Yikes, margin left, and of course you can do margin right. Let's leave it at that. Let's see what else we can do here. That's kind of the box model. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to show you guys. Here's something crazy. You can do star. Star is the universal selector, right? Oh, it says don't use empty rule sets. Okay. Star is it'll select everything. So if I did border 1 pixel solid blue, you would see all of these borders here. And basically what it is this outer border right here is your HTML element. This is your body, so it has a margin, right? Here's your H1, which overwrote the blue border. It's got its own green border. Then we've got an H2 here and a paragraph. And then each of these strong tags have a border. The EM tag has a border. This image has a border. The A tag has a border around it along with the paragraph. Right? So everything is basically this box that has borders, and you can add margins. So for example, let's pick these strong tags. And we could go, let's just do that down here. Is there a better spot for it? Textiles? Yeah, well, let's put in the textiles. So let's pick the strong tag, and let's go margin left 5 pixels and margin right 5 pixels. And you should now see that, push the letters away from it because that margin is on the outside. If I change that margin to padding left and padding right, you would see that it pushed away from the border. All right. Anyway, just showing you that this box model is really handy, and it helps you to think about these elements as these boxes: content, padding, border, and margin. Now, what is that useful for? Well, let's get rid of some of these all of these crazy borders, and let's get rid of this strong stuff there that we did, and save it. What if I wanted to center all of my content? Right? So let's get my H1 back to the way it was before. Let's forget all of that. What if, say, I wanted to do something like this? I'm going to go page styles for the whole page. And I'm going to go body. And let's add the border so we can just see the body. Right? Actually, another thing I could show you too is if you hit F12 in your browser, it opens up this console here. You can go to Elements, and it shows you the elements on your page. And you can see that when you hover over it, it highlights where the body is. And it'll even show some of the styles and stuff down below. And you'll see here that this is the default. There's a margin of 8 pixels by default. So if you wanted to get rid of this border around the outside, see how it's a little bit away from the edge there, you could actually tell the body to have a margin of 0. And now it would have a margin of 0 and go right up to the edge of the page, okay, of the screen. All right. But what I was going to do is I was going to do something like this. Let's change the width of the body. Actually, no, let's first do this. Let's go margin left of 100 pixels. Right? This poor content has been sitting on the side of this page for so long, it looks kind of weird, that if I were to make this a little like a page like this or whatever and get rid of the border, that would look a little nicer. But even better than that is this idea of centered fixed width content. So this is kind of cool. what I'm going to do is, instead of that, I'm going to give the body a width of 800 pixels, let's say. Let's go back here. And you'll see now the body has this width of 800 pixels. Let's go even smaller than that. Let's go 600 pixels. Cool. Now, what I wanted to show you with the width is, remember how we did those BRs to force it to go to the next line? Instead of doing those BRs, we could use the width to say, hey, I don't want the content to spread too far. Right? Because remember, if we got rid of this width and we got rid of all these BRs, here, you know what, let's just go Control F BR. And oh, there's only a couple. Let's get rid of that one. Let's get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. And get rid of that one. And we already fixed the ones here with the UL. So you'll notice that, oh yeah, it just stretches all the way across. You're like, oh, that doesn't look very good, right? It's spreading too far. Well, what we can do is we can do what we did with the body and say, you know what, have a width of 600 pixels. And now that comfortably fits the text, right? That looks a lot nicer. And then what we can do is we can center the entire body. And this is cool. You can go Margin Auto. And what Margin Auto does is it says, so how much space do I have left and right? And I'm going to automatically balance them so that it's equal margins on the left, equal margins on the right. Right? And it centers this. So now even if I were to resize the page, it automatically adjusts so it stays in the center and the right and left margins stay equal. Okay? This is one of the simplest skills that I'm going to teach you to make sure that your web page looks good on any size screen. Not like a mobile device, that's another topic for another day, but on like different resolution screens, you're guaranteed that the content will look like this, and all that will change is the amount of border that they see. All right? Quick little thing with background color. I'm going to pick my HTML and give it a background color of like a dark gray, so RGB of like 000 would be black, right? So let's do like an 80, 80, 80. Let's try that. Okay, and then I can give, notice, so that's the HTML, this is my body. The body is transparent by default. So I also need to give my body a background color of white, let's say. And now we can start to see, okay, we've got kind of this border framing it. This looks a little awkward with these the text right up against the edges. So remember, the border and the content are separated by padding. So I'm going to give my body some padding, maybe 10 pixels top and bottom, and 100 pixels left and right. Okay, if I do two numbers, the first number applies to top and bottom, next one is left and right. And that's starting to look like that. Hey, that's looking pretty good. Okay, and again, like I said, right, if the screen gets full screen, you just got more border. Looking not bad. Okay, I'm gonna stop the video here. I want to play around with this website a little bit more, but we're getting close to the end here. We talked about border, margin, padding, width and height, the centered fixed width content, right? That we can resize this thing and it always stays in the center and the width doesn't change. So it doesn't mess up how it looks and things move to different lines and all that. It's going to be a standard appearance no matter what resolution or size screen you're looking at. And we did a little bit with background colors. We'll talk about some background images, I think, in the next video. Okay, looking good, and hope you're having fun. Hope that made sense, and take care. We'll see you in the next video.